Welcome to the museum's program of Hometown Histories. I'm Marge Edelson, a museum trustee, and today we're going to turn back the calendar and take a look at a forgotten chapter of local history, and that is farming in Ocean Township. Up until the mid-1900s, Ocean Township was a small residential and farming community. Our neighbors to the east were well-known oceanside resort communities of Elberon, Deal, Allenhurst, and Asbury Park. We had small residential neighborhoods. We called them Shadow Lawn, Elberon Park, Oakhurst, West Deal, West Allenhurst, Wanamassa, and Colonial Terrace. At that time, Route 35 was a two-lane road with no traffic lights. Everything west of 35 was known as Wayside, and Wayside was a family farming community. According to the 1940 census, in all of Ocean Township, there were only 4,200 people, and that included Lock Arbor. After World War II, the veterans returned, and the 1950 census rose to 6,700 people. This was the beginning of growth in Ocean Township and the beginning of the end of the farming community. Today, we're going to talk to two people who grew up on a farm in Wayside. I'd like to introduce to you Dave Osborn and his sister, Mary Osborn Siver. Today, I would like to ask them a few questions relating to the living in the Wayside farming community. And Dave, I'd like to start with you and ask you to tell us when the Osborns moved into Ocean Township.
I believe it was somewhere around 1910, 1909, somewhere in that area. I'm not positive.
So we're talking about over 100 years that your family owned land right here in our town, and that would be your grandparents, right?
Right.
And then your parents followed along in the same farm?
Everybody worked on it, actually, my father and myself, and especially after my grandparents. My grandfather actually got sick, he couldn't do a darn thing for years, and we actually ran the farm plus our other jobs too, so it was pretty hectic for a while.
Right. Where was the farm?
About a half a mile north of the West Park Avenue on Hope Road, and throughout that area, and we had a farm there, it was actually a dairy farm, and plus all kinds of produce and things like that. And we utilized the farm property itself, plus my grandmother rented a bunch of other property, so we'd have more hay fields and order to feed the cattle and the hogs and everything else that we had, the chickens and whatever you can imagine, we had it on the farm.
So let's talk about what they did have. So you had a lot of livestock.
Yeah.
Sounds like you had cows.
We had between the milking and the young cattle, I think there were 17 or 18 milkers all the time, and probably another 8 to 10 young heifers to replace the older ones as they quit producing.
So you were must be selling the milk, right?
We had a regular house-to-house delivery route. My grandmother delivered the milk to the houses, plus the farm stand and everything else. Everybody went to their, they could buy whatever you wanted right on the farm. And but after my grandfather got sick, that kind of got slowed down real good. So she stayed for years just delivering milk and stuff like that.
So you had a farm stand. Was that unusual in Wayside? Did other people have farm stands?
I think there was one or two other ones, and that was about it. And most people raised stuff for themselves.
Right.
And if they had an overage, they sell it to somebody else. But that's generally about what it was. People didn't have any money, so they were raising stuff for their own.
your own
Almost.
family,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it was raising the whatever that you were raising that was able to support your family.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
You figure we raise hogs every year, and we had meat and stuff like that, and chickens and turkeys, and I think we had 200 to 300 guinea hens on the farm for years, and then I used to get a kick out of that because the guys would come up from Long Branch, Snaresburg to go hunting. The first thing they did was start shooting guinea hens. My grandfather run down across the field shooting at them.
Well, there was a market then for
Sure.
all of that
Yeah,
game.
yeah. But people
Yeah.
used to come from all over to get the honey and things like that. They sold at the stand,
Right.
and they sold an awful lot of the honey to somebody in North Jersey or somewhere in New York or something because they had so many gallons of it.
Really?
Because of all the beehives they had. They had 87 working beehives at one time.
Wow.
And then it caught some kind of disease. I think my grandfather called it foul brood or something like that. And I think it wiped a whole bunch of the bees out and started over. He only had 4 or 5 hives after that.
Well, the farm store now, did you sell only your products or did other farmers bring stuff in to sell too?
Just what we raised on the farm.
Just your farm,
Yeah, and if you wanted a chicken or you wanted a guinea hen or something else, you had to call up and order it, and then they'd have it ready for you.
I remember we used to go to Neptune to the farmers market. Now,
Yeah.
did other Wayside people go to the farmers market?
Oh yeah. It actually my mother's parents had a farm in Glendola, and we'd go over there and we'd pick stuff and load this big truck up. Then they'd come over to our farm, my uncle and that, pick up what we had, and they'd take it all down to the Neptune Farmers Market.
Yeah, that was very popular.
And you could have a truck piled up higher than you can imagine, and a couple hours later it was gone.
Gone.
Because
Right.
people would come in from these big companies and things, and if they looked good, they'd buy the whole truckload.
Right, right. Well, I remember in the summer, we always went to the farmer's market
Yeah.
because you remember, I don't know if your mother was doing it, but my mother was canning,
Oh yeah.
especially during World War II. They were all canning. They were always buying big baskets of produce from the farmers.
The canning bit was all done over in Glendola at my
Your
mother's house.
Yeah,
And members of the family would go over there. They'd work for a week
right.
and just can and can and can and can. They had a cellar bigger than this little room here, that just shelf after shelf full of stuff. And whenever you needed something, you went over there and got it.
Well, I remember it was hot as the dickens. It was always in the summer that they were canning and the steam.
But they used to, they'd can beef, they'd can snapper and turtle meat. And
Really?
whatever they get a hold of, Snapper and turtle meat's actually good. It tastes like beef.
Really?
Yeah.
Not chicken.
And but whatever they killed, they preserve it.
Preserved it.
The
Yeah.
rabbits, the squirrels, everything.
Really? Well, I remember pickles and tomatoes and
Well, that went along. That was a side dish.
Yeah, right. Well, tell me about you worked at the farm too. What was a typical day like to work at the farm?
Well, it was just early in the morning till dark if there wasn't any school.
Right, right.
If there was school, after we started running things, it was just my father would get up 3:30 in the morning, go over to take care of the cows, go to work. I'd go to school. I'd get out of school. I'd come home. He'd go home and eat dinner, and I'd take care of the cows. Some nights get done 10:30, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, because I had to milk all the cows, and then take the milk up to the milk house and run it through strainers to filters, put it in bottles, put it in the refrigerator, so my grandmother could deliver it the next day. And by the time you got the cows all situated, you were pretty tired.
Very long day at the farm. Very long day. Well, you have given us a wonderful list of all the farms.
Yeah.
and we're going to preserve that list, and we're going to get together with you and put that actually on a map
Yeah, that'd
so
be
that
good.
we have those records in the museum for people who are interested in this chapter of our history.
I can probably show you within a couple of feet where the different farms were, you know, and things like that.
Great, great. Let me ask you, when you harvested, now
Yeah.
you had said something about the hay. Now
Yeah.
you said there was a man in town who came in and baled the hay for you.
Yeah, when they could afford it, they would come down at Charlie Bound. He had a little farm up on Asbury Avenue, and he was also a school bus driver.
Right.
And he bought a baler, and he'd go around and bale hay for the different farmers, which made it a heck of a lot easier.
Right, right.
He had the wire bales though, but they were about 200 pounds apiece, so they were not too easy to throw around.
But you needed the hay for the animal feed.
So you could get more in your barn if they baled it.
Right.
That was the good thing about it.
Right.
But the loose hay was a pain in the neck.
So did you also grow the feed corn for your animals, or?
Oh yeah, yeah. We had, you know, field corn every year. We put down. We had a guy come in and grind the when they make feed for the cattle. They grind up the cobs and everything,
Right.
and it makes great feed, and they love it. And the winter times, I forget where the heck they got it, but we used to use brewery grain to feed the cattle. They love brewery grain, and the pigs would love brewery grain. And it even smelled good. You know?
Would they get a little tipsy?
No, but it's just they just love it. You give each one of them a scoop every day. You know, they liked it.
That's great. Well, now, did you ever have to use other people to help harvest, or did you pretty much do it all as a family?
We never had anybody else come in.
You were able to.
Like I say, the only people that came in were people like Charlie Bound that did something like that.
Right.
And if we grew citrons or something like that, or somebody wanted citrons to make candy rind or something.
Yeah, that's an interesting crop. I never heard of that.
Well, they look like watermelons.
Right.
And they taste awful.
Right.
And they're little green things that get about that big, and they'd cart them off somewhere and they'd make some kind of candy rind out of them.
Right, right. Well, I think people use them when they make at Christmas time when you make the cakes with all the different rinds and all that, you know. I think that's
the fruitcake.
Fruitcake kind of things, yeah. Well, let me ask you also let's get away from. You went to the Oakhurst School.
Yeah.
And Mary, you did too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then on to Asbury Park High School.
Mm-hmm.
In that time, there was only two schools, Oakhurst and Wanamassa. And I guess you had a choice of going to Long Branch or Asbury Park.
That's correct.
And I think most of the Wayside kids probably went to Asbury Park. Yeah.
In my class, we only had a couple go to Long Branch.
Yeah.
And the rest all went to Asbury Park.
In those days, you know, everybody was on a bus.
Yes, we were. But it was fun.
Well, you know, you said something about in the wintertime, somebody took you to school on a sleigh.
That was my father. Fred Hibbets used to come up from Oakhurst. If the snow was too deep to get a bus through, or however they did it years ago, he'd come up there with a horse's sleigh, go through Wayside, pick the people up, take them to school.
They
Must have
didn't
took
call
them forever
school
to get
off.
there.
So our father and his siblings,
Yeah.
you know, they'd get picked up.
They didn't close the school down. School was in session. Everybody went.
I don't know.
They had a couple of years when I was a kid, they couldn't even get in Wayside for a week.
Really?
That's how bad it snowed.
Wow. I haven't seen snow like that.
The Army Corps of Engineers finally came through with their great big machinery and opened up West Park Avenue and Oak Road and all them roads up in Wayside.
Wow. Well, listen, the center of the farm community then was pretty much Bound Road, right?
You figure Bound Road, Green Grove Road, Hope Road, you know, the whole thing, Wayside Road.
Where they all met.
Right,
That's really kind of like the center.
And actually, were there any stores up there, or just little mom and pop shops, right?
Just mom and pop shops plus a gas station. And years when Henry Batcher sold the store to the Stanley Kane's parents, and Then they had the liquor store there and soda and cigarettes and things like that, but they didn't sell any bread or milk or anything like that when they bought it. The Henry Batcher's wife had the store next to the garage, actually. Lena, I think her name was Lena, wasn't it? Lena Batcher?
I think so.
And but she sold bread and candy and soda and milk and everything in there.
So the community really used the firehouse. That was really a gathering point, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about the Grange. I've read that there was a Wayside Grange, Mary. What was that about?
There was a Wayside Grange, and the Grange was, I think, actually started because of the agricultural existence in our area and whatever, and New Jersey itself.
Yeah.
At least in New Jersey. And a lot of the matters concerned farming and things like that. So now I don't think there's an existing Grange within 50 miles. I don't, because it went out with the times,
Right, right.
And but there were a lot of things at the firehouse. So there were, during the war they had first aid courses and CPR courses, and the women's club met there, and really they had dances. So it was a fun place, I guess, a little bit before my time.
Right.
But because I was born in 43, so that would be during the war.
Right.
But that and the church,
Yeah.
had a lot of activities for the kids. And
Well, one time there was a bowling alley up there, wasn't there?
Yeah. He worked there.
They built the bowling alley when Paul Bellison farm went out of business. Waldo Rogers was the guy's name that bought the property. He lived in that big house on the corner that's no longer there. Or Ben White bought it years later.
Right, right.
He lived there, him and his wife. His wife was an artist.
Oh.
She had a shed out in the back in the bushes there. She used to sit in there and paint pictures. She was very good at it. But they owned a big painting company up in New York, and I think he just used the bowling alley to lose money or something.
I don't remember how big it was. I know that
Well, it had 8 alleys.
I think most of
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
most of the kids his age
Yeah.
worked there.
It was
Yeah.
busy all the time.
Yeah, well, it was a good spot. Yeah. Well, they had movies at the firehouse that I had read in one of the articles.
I think so. I don't think I was ever at one,
Yeah.
but he's
they
much
had,
older than I was.
They had a lot of movies there, a lot of dances,
Right.
comedians. They're very good. Bands called Pink and Bill Band and all that. And what the heck was that guy's name? He was so good, the piano player, and told jokes.
Victor Borga, was that the one?
Yeah, Victor Borga. He was the funniest darn thing I ever saw.
Really? Well, let me ask you, well, we know what Wayside was like, but I remember that on the highway, which is now our major north-south road, there was not much out there, maybe a few bars.
Yeah.
No real, any kind of a big department store or any kind of
Nothing, no big restaurants.
superstore, a supermarket or a restaurant or anything. It was really, really rural, and I think the first big thing was the Carvel. Wasn't that a big thing that happened
Modern
on West Park Avenue there?
When I was young, there was September. Ernie September's father owned the Charlie's Bar, which was September's
I
at that
remember,
time.
yeah.
And they had a huge vegetable stand on the north side of that when I was young. And he sold a lot of stuff in there, and he'd buy it elsewhere and
Yeah.
set up the stand and sell it. There was another one at the corner of Deal Road and 35 on the southeast corner.
Okay.
I can't remember who owned that one.
Where the jug handle is today.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, I remember West Park on Deal Road, the cows grazing right up to the highway
Yeah.
where Middlebrook Farm was,
Yeah, they
and the
were all
Middlebrook
the,
Farm was from the highway all the way
Yeah.
up to Route 18, where Route 18
They
is
were
now.
the show cattle, you know,
Yeah.
they had the jerseys.
They were beautiful.
Yeah, that was a big
And
farm.
it went right up to Roller Road, the property, because
Right.
Mrs. Betters and all them owned the houses are right there.
Right.
And actually over
Mrs.
to Cold
Leeds.
Indian Springs Road.
Uh-huh.
Oh, actually over to Cold Indian Springs Road. Because that's how you got in on the other side.
Yeah,
Well, that was Stearns.
yeah.
Stern had a farm over there.
Really? I thought
Yeah.
it was a part
No.
of that.
If you're going up the hill,
Mm-hmm.
Stern had a farm off of Colina Springs Hill that went down there just past the church.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You go just past that about a couple hundred feet, and there went way down
See, he
in the
knows
hill in the
everything.
back in there. And but people used to go there and help them every year. In fact, I was one of them. My grandfather picked me up from Glendale and take me over there. They had all kinds of vegetables to pick all the time.
Really?
And so they get 15, 20 people in there every year to start picking the crops for them, and whatever they do with them, I have no idea. But they'd set up a table out in the yard to feed everybody. You never saw so much food in your life. I think they were very wealthy people or something. But you saw things on that table you never see home.
Right. They probably had it catered.
No,
I don't think in those days.
Well, it's interesting that those farms lasted as long as they did. What led to the end of the farm out in the Wayside area?
I think basically it's a couple of factors, like old age. Some areas couldn't pay the taxes any longer, and their children didn't want to bother with the farm because they could make more money elsewhere. And it's just after a while you just get disgusted and sell the property because you had somebody beating on your door all the time wanting to buy it to build houses on.
Yeah, the property became so valuable, right?
Plus Route 18.
Right.
You know, when a lot of them had to give up their property for that to be built.
Right.
So.
The other farm we mentioned was the Long Lane Farm,
Yeah.
the
Danglers.
Danglers Farm, where the junior high is or the intermediate school is today. And that was, he really had a real dairy business going. He was delivering to the homes and everything. That was a pretty big farm.
They sold their farm in 1961,
Did they?
the year I got married, and that's why I remember.
Yeah.
But, Route 18 was coming,
Right.
a lot of things were coming, and in those days too, if you didn't get bigger,
Right.
you didn't exist. So they didn't have the room to expand anymore. And so they moved to Pennsylvania and farmed for many, many years.
Well, one of the farms that probably most people remember is the Quackenbush Farm, because they had that little stand right
The road
there
stand.
across from ShopRite at the time.
People used to get annoyed with him shooting off his air cannon.
Keep the birds away.
Well, did his farm go up to where the cobblestones? Cobblestones is that all those stores
He
in
just
there.
had a couple acres there. He didn't have very
Oh.
much, probably up to about Cindy Lane.
Okay, yeah.
And back to Amos Chandler's hog pens and to King's Highway. It was just that one little area right there.
Yeah.
And another thing too, while I'm thinking about it, Minnie and Stuart had that ice cream stand up on Asbury Avenue.
Right.
And but where you had that questionnaire and a thing that time, they
Yes.
said that wasn't where it was. If you're going across Green Grove Road, there's a gas station on your left before you cross Asbury Avenue.
Right.
Go across the road on your left, that's where the ice cream stand was, where that little road goes through there now.
So that
But
wasn't
the
an
thing
Ocean
said it
Township.
was down at where the drugstore is. That's not where it was.
I
Charlie
think
Coffee.
it was in Neptune Township.
Yeah, Neptune Township.
Charlie
right.
Coffee owned a house there. He was actually a manager of the Wayside bowling alley.
Oh, okay. Well, let me ask you, well, there were farms in other parts of town too.
Yeah.
Actually, where the museum is, this was the Stoessel farm, And you know, we're trying to save the water tower out back as really an icon of farming days of the past. And but this was a working farm right here over on this side of the highway. I believe Millwood Farms was a working farm over in West Allenhurst.
Millwood, yeah.
And wasn't there a farm back where the pool complex is? Did
That was Greenbrier Farm.
did Hammernecks have
That
a
was-
farm there for a while?
They lived there.
Right.
I can't remember who owned it, but the Hammernecks lived on the farm.
Right.
And took care of it, and, you know, things like that, and they grew, and George Hamernick used to grow out. He was like a custom farmer also for a while. And he was living, you know, he lived there for years, and the property over in there was terrible. The ground, it was just full of cactuses.
Really?
You fell down, you picked stickers out of you for a week. But both sides, even where the high school is, that the whole area was sand and cactuses.
Well, apparently somebody was farming it because
Well, they may have years ago.
when
because-
when Western Electric bought that property to be the Deal test site, they were buying like the Harvey farm and a couple other farms there.
That was Henry Harvey's family that
Yeah.
had that. And his sister was married Bill Gallagher,
Okay.
and they lived on Dow Avenue there.
Well, there were farms all around town,
Yeah.
but mainly in the Wayside area. The
Ashley
bigger-
Woolley had a farm in Wanamassa on Roselle Avenue,
Okay.
and west of Wickapeckett Drive. He raised sheep.
Really?
Yeah, he
Well,
had
that's
a couple acres there. He had a bunch of sheep in there.
Well, it was a farming community. I think we
Yeah.
can say that definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for this interview. And today, the latest census figure says that in Ocean Township, there are 27,291 people living. And that is a long way from the 1950s and 60s. So those farms have disappeared and upscale housing has taken its place all around town. But I'd like to thank Mary and Dave for coming today and giving us a little look into the past of Ocean Township.